This hour, we're having a conversation, like I said, about pending bills. And joining us in the hot seat this morning is the Secretary General of the Association of Public Sector General Suppliers, Simon Gichuki. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Thank you for having me. Very well.
Well, I'm happy to have you in the hot seat of the Situation Room this morning to discuss an issue that has plagued people for a very long time and still continues to do so. Counties pending bills, and this is at the county level.
Yes.
And it's called the curse of doing business machinani. Okay. It's going to be a heavy one. We're going to get into it, but let's cool things off a little bit. CT is going to give you the proverb for today. Tell us what you think about the proverb and how you would translate it, and then we can go from there.
Okay. Enough.
This particular country in East Africa has many distinctions. One of them is a shared distinction. It shares the biggest lake on the continent.
Tanganyika.
You're actually quite right. We now call it Tanzania.
Thank you.
Yes, our proverbs for this week are from the United Republic of
Tanzania,
yes. A gentle breeze blowing in the right direction is better than a pair of strong oars.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
I think about it. At times when you're starting to do something, maybe the only thing you require is one soul to tell you you're doing the right thing. Not the million naysayers. It's the one person who will tell you maybe what you're doing will make sense. Go on.
You put it well, really. You've actually combined two things. You've embedded the implications and the meaning all into one, which is good.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. No need to complicate it. How it works, it works. All right. So, if we look at the whole issue of, let's get into it. Look at the whole issue of pending bills. By the time a bill is pending, that means that work has been done.
Yes.
And one would assume that the work that has been done came from the person who was asking for it to be done, and then that there were budget lines, and then there was a project, and then somebody got in as a contractor, etc., etc. That happens. But this is happening at the county level, right? So even before we get into the madness of it, how does one start to do work or business, in this case, with the county?
With the counties.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for having me to discuss. Ideally, we should be discussing the blessings of the county government to the machinani. But now we are here asking ourselves, how did we get into this hole? And how then, the first question you've asked is how we do business with the counties. Number one, any amount called development means there's a contractor at the back end who will either supply building materials, will do buildings, or will supply office stationery and things like that, or who will even supply the office equipment. Every year, the counties have a development budget and a recurrent budget. So unless an amount is going directly into the staff welfare, every other expense is a supplier at the end.
Okay.
Even when it's a recurrent for a conference, it means there is a hotel at the back end. There is also a consultant at the back end. If it's a building for development, it means there's a contractor at the back end and the architects and the likes. The PPRA Act allows them to pre-qualify Kenyans, and after pre-qualifying Kenyans, then you're eligible for jobs. The law of Kenya is very clear that once you have won a bid, then you get an LSO. And if you read that document, the bottom line, it says, as long as it has a signature of the I holder or the accountant, then that money is available, start doing work. So what becomes a problem is, you've done the work, you're finished, and there's no money. So that has been a story that, unfortunately, it is not a good story for a number of reasons. That these businesses that are called, these amounts called pending bills, are actually businesses that have been denied their right, which is income they deserved. Now, for you to do businesses in Kenya, there are a few things that fall into place. One, you have employees who you pay day in, day out, whether you've been paid by the county or not. There are statutories that have a time limit. So whether you are being paid by the national government, by the county government or not, there are statutories you need to pay.
Okay.
There are people who you bought things from, who do not care who you're supplying to,
Sure.
that need to be paid. There are financial institutions who you took loans from or advances, overdrafts, that need to be paid. So the curse of pending bill means that there's a chain of people who attack you for not meeting your obligations, yet it is only one institution that refused to pay you. And if you look at it, because 2013 we were about 230 million. Now we are
Collectively from the counties. Okay.
Now we are nearing 200 billion.
Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry.
Mathematics.
And
Just a minute.
It moved rather swiftly,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it did a
Yes.
head
We're
spin for
talking
me.
millions, then all of a sudden,
Billions.
boom, billion.
The first 230 million. That's about a quarter a billion.
Million
Yes.
in
All
20,
the-
in 2014, 2015, the government record said we had 204 million spending bills.
Yeah.
204
Yes.
million.
Somewhere in 2016, the amount went to 37 billion.
Nice.
I want to see how the rise is. And in 2024, it went to about 200 billion.
Okay, sorry.
Now, this is the funny part. This is the interesting part.
Okay.
A lot of these figures accumulate right before an election, and they are not taken care of after the election. For example, because it's good to... The beauty of these reports, they are available at the controller of budget.
Yeah.
If you look at, for example, some of the counties we've had, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kiambu, the notorious ones, you'll figure out right before an election the amount overshoots. And when a new governor comes in, he doesn't look at that as a going concern problem.
Okay. Because obviously we're talking about an election period. I mean, there's a myriad of questions that come here. But so we're talking about an election period. The outgoing governor is not concerned with election activities.
Yes.
So the incoming, this person who is spending is still county government. So who is spending for county government? Who is asking folks to come and...
Ideally, every nation worldwide is a going concern. With or without an election, the budget cycle continues.
Indeed.
So the eye holder, or the people who are allowed to incur expenses, most of them are actually career servants, civil servants. This will be the CFOs, the head of procurement, head of directors here and there. Then we have the chief officers. Remember, chief officers don't leave the office the day the governor is sworn in. They leave the office the day the new governor appoint, and you're confirmed as a chief officer.
And unless they want to retain you, for example.
Good.
Yes.
Now, in the event they don't retain you, then that's a problem. I come in as a new governor, and I'm looking at the pending bills, and I'm wondering, do I pay? Case in point. Let's look at case in point. Abdul Samad inherited 4.4 billion debt. I think it's at 4.2. It's now at 4.4.
Okay.
He said, he went to Senate and said, I have cleared all the bills in my tenure, which was 1 year. So the question the senators should have asked the good governor from Mombasa is, what happened to the 4 billion that were incurred by Joho? No one asked, no one dared. But the media was happy. He cleared the 1 year, which is 2022-2023 financial year. No one asked, between 2013 and 2022, what happened to those suppliers?
Okay. Can we, sorry, I just want to ask a genealogy question.
A genealogy question.
Yeah. So we can see, because this thing, the debt has a father, grandmother, all of this is happening. Yes. But if we look at how this debt occurs, I would assume that because you guys now are versed in the intricacies of how it happens at county level, right? Because you're suppliers, and usually these contracts are done with you. Yes. So let's say Ndu, what does Ndu do? Okay, Ndu cooks, right?
Yes.
Ndu's a caterer. And so for the events for the county, I'm on their list of suppliers, so I'm going to call me, right?
Yes.
So there is a need. One.
Yes, there's a need.
Okay, there's a need for this job to be done.
Yes.
There is also a budget
line.
Yes, there's a budget. And maybe on the initial, because they do this, they do their CIDPs, they do all of these things, and they clear their budget plans at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So they know that there will be miscellaneous, or there will be whatever. There will be events and programs for county. And so this falls into that budget. And they say, okay, let's give 500 million, whatever.
Yes.
Right? So there's a budget that's been allocated. There's a line for it.
Yes.
So they come and they say, calls for caterer for events of 2025, for example, isn't it? And they already know what these are going to be, one would hope.
Correct.
If something pops up in the middle, then they say, okay, fine, we'll deal with it, isn't it? But usually they know ahead of time this is what's going to happen. Maybe catering is not a good idea. Okay, so road. Right, want to build a road, right? So you know that it is there, and you know this how much it's going to cost. You ask for quotations, and those are brought. So you create even if you didn't have an existent one, you create a budget line for this thing, and that there is funding that is allocated to this budget line. Abi, please stop me if I go wrong. So
you're correct at that point.
Okay, then you tell me, Ndu, go ahead and start building the road.
Yes.
Isn't it? You knowing they will pay. Maybe they don't do this whole thing of 50% deposit, whatever. So I know that I'm going to get paid. I go to the bank
and take a loan.
And I say, here is the documentation, signed, sealed, delivered, stamped, and I get the funds. And I go along my merry way and I build the road. Right?
Yes.
It is complete. They come, they do their inspection, whatever, signed off on, go. Then they say within 45, 90, 180 days, we will pay you. See, those are the numbers that they normally give.
Yes.
We will pay you for the work that you have done. Maybe they gave you some money before, and now they will say we are going to complete. Right?
Yes.
Then?
So there's one problem.
Why should that bill now? Because I remember I started from, there is a budget line and there are funds available for this development because you sat and you went to Naivasha in some swanky hotel or whatever you did and you planned this thing. So why should that bill be pending?
Two things. One, governments all over rely on documents. So the tender you got was an LPU signed by the right authorized persons.
Yes.
Committing that one, we own the project. Second, we have the money for the project. And thirdly, the money is available in this vote head. When you're done with the project, ordinarily, a normal invoice is honored within 90 days.
Okay.
Assuming government bureaucracies and the likes. After 90 days, that amount is not honored. So that is scenario one. So in that case, you now start the journey of to and fro with the counties where they don't pay. For example, a case of a young man who won a furniture for 5.8 million.
Yeah.
And he took a loan and took his car, gave it out, and he was going to supply a county in Nyanza. And it was 5.8. Delivered very good chairs, and that was early September, November. No, the call was in November, so it was somewhere in August. Then he started the journey of back and forth with the county. As of November, he was told the voter doesn't have money.
The who?
The voted where the money is now. This is where the problem is. We still don't have a system of personal responsibility where I can sign as many LSOs because I don't care. After all, in 5 years, I'll retire. And the next guy who comes to that office bears a problem. So the signature I sign when I'm in the office is as useless as anyone else because immediately I leave that office, one, no government officer in Kenya has ever been held liable for the pending bills they ensured existed when they were there in the office.
None.
You don't do
None.
City, go first.
No.
Okay.
I've asked my question. I just want to be clear that
Look at it like this. All the cases in court today are corruption cases. None of personal responsibility where a company X, you signed a document, they supplied, they are being auctioned, they have liabilities on them, and then you're being called as a government official in the county government to appear in a court of law. None.
True.
So your work is, you work for the county.
Commit the county.
You commit the county. You destroy businesses. You go to happy retirement. I go to happy Mathare Hospital.
You know, your description is so accurate. I have seen my friends go to bankruptcy.
Yes.
But allow me a minute to broaden the conversation a little bit.
Yes.
If Kenya's budget is 3 trillion and our GDP is between 10, 11, 12 trillion, it means that government spending is nearly 30% of our economy.
Yes.
Okay? If we have pending bills approaching 1 trillion,
That's
it means
national and county.
yes,
That's
national
combined,
and county.
yes.
If we have pending bills approaching 1 trillion, it means that there's 1 trillion worth of debt, 1 trillion worth of opportunities that will not be taken by this businessman because he's shackled.
Yes.
And the third, there is low circulation of money. Let's do that.
Yes.
Now, Ndu, I liked your story. But I was like, oh, my poor, sweet Ndu. Thinking of the process as though it matters.
You know why?
Let me tell you why it does not matter. You said something very interesting. You said that the expenditure goes up in the last year. Tells me one thing. It is a politician who needs campaign money
Yes.
and is using procurement as a way of siphoning resources. And it is also a politician who is scared they might not come back to office.
Mark, you know what is important? Just a minute. You know
Yeah.
why it's important? That when you're trying, in some cases, to explain how bad a situation is, you must highlight
Yes.
the way it is supposed to be.
True.
Absolutely. When we talk about the effects of corruption, usually you talk about 600 million shillings disappeared. But what could 600 million shillings actually do?
True.
It's very important for people to understand that it's not just some pot of money that's sitting in the belly of the county and then anybody can go dip their hands into it, but that's what people are doing.
Yeah.
But the way it's supposed to be is that there are lines. You have the documentation, don't you? Because the documentation that you talk about, Simon, that's the documentation that you take to the bank to get the money in the first place, is it not?
There's
Yeah,
a
but-
problem then.
Okay.
Yes.
One. Let me give you. You've asked how the problem comes in. I'll give you a
Yes.
very good scenario. In our lifetime, Nairobi may not be able to clear the pending bills. There are 100 billion. That means the county of Nairobi owes suppliers, note the word, and businesses 100 billion plus. Now that figure is not stagnating, it's increasing. The county of Kiambu, with a sitting governor, has increased its pending bills by 1 billion.
Yes.
Nairobi
Since-
also has a sitting governor, isn't it?
Yes, I don't know because I haven't seen him in a while. But we're assuming he's there. We only know it has a chief officer.
My good friend
environment.
Sachs.
Yes. Now, the county of Kiambu has increased their pending bills under Governor Matangi by almost 1 billion. Control of Budgets report. So my question is, does it mean even his own planning has a problem? The last point. The biggest mess that came in was the non-audit of the projection of own-source revenue. So when a governor is negotiating for projects, he says we're able to raise 20 billion. Knowing very well he can't. And that's why the reports will also tell you only 17 counties have been able to do more than 60% of their own-source revenue.
Yes.
Simon, see, we're going to take a break, but just wait. Let's do some counting, okay? So 1 million is 100,000 10 times. We've only reached 1 million.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. City sometimes gets confused. This 1 million, 100.
Actually, when you pass 1 million, mean that
Okay.
You're done.
my mind goes into a
So
to a
now,
loop.
this 1 million, now we're going to take it and we do 100 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
It's
6,
100, that's
7,
100
50,
million.
50, 50, 99, 100. That's 100 million.
Yes.
Eh? In order to get to 1 billion, we still take this 100 million.
And do times 10.
Times
Then
10.
we'll do times 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10.
Now we have reached
1 billion.
only 1 billion. Eh? We're still going OCT. Then You will take this 1 billion. Now, we have said the money that Nairobi
Yes,
County owes to suppliers. We've not talked about any other money that they owe. I don't know.
And not national
buy
government.
medicine,
Yeah.
do whatever. The money that they're supposed to pay to the Simon and the Mark and the Ndu who took a loan and went and sold her car to buy furniture so that she could now deliver that money. We take this 1 billion, then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 99, 100.
Yes.
That is the money that Nairobi owes to suppliers. Are you seeing now the math and how it's already making your brain do kokoko?
Let me
Are
give
you understanding?
Let me give
That's
you a best.
the kind of money that we are talking about in one county.
That
Let me give
basically
you the
means
best example.
That means
if we were to all, our members were to all go to court, we basically would say Nairobi County is bankrupt.
because how much money
Because
does Nairobi
one,
County collect?
let's assume they even collect 30 billion
Hey.
and they have expenses of 10 billion running the county. That means they can only pay your money after 5 years, religiously paying 20 billion a year.
And not doing anything else.
Yes, so from a corporate sense, isn't that a bankrupted county?
You know,
It's not solvent, yes.
since you struggle with math, a billionaire once told me.
Yeah, I don't struggle with math.
No,
It's
it's
just
the zeros.
It's the figures.
It's addition.
Yeah, so
Let me tell you, if you make 1 million shillings every day for 365 days, you're still not a billionaire.
Let's take a break. Because my head is paining me. And I don't like my head to be paining me at this hour because, my goodness. And if we're saying that's the kind of money that's owed to Kenyans, it's no wonder, like you said, Simon, that people are ending up in hospital. What are they supposed to do? And we're going to look at ways in which probably one would hope that this can actually be dealt with. And really, what is the problem here? And why is it so bad? And like you said, in a lifetime, are we ever going to be able to get out of this particular issue? We're looking at the pending bills menace, and hopefully, as we get into it, maybe some more issues. Simon Gichuki, who is the Secretary General of the Association of Public Sector General Suppliers, can tell us, okay, these are the issues that people are facing and how they need to be dealt with. Those numbers, for those of you who make 1 million shillings a day, and Mark has told us that if you make 1 million shillings 365 days a year, you still will not be a billionaire. You don't have 1 billion shillings.
Yes.
You still don't have 1 billion. And Nairobi is owing 100 billion shillings to suppliers. And so this is the story around the counties. I'm curious, Simon, because I mean, far be it from me to imagine that folks who are owed this money sit in their houses and say, oh, by the grace of God, the county will pay us. No. I imagine that these folks are knocking on the county doors and saying, hey, where's my money? If you said it was 45 days, 90 days, whatever the case may be, I believe that by the time we have that bill pending, it has surpassed the days or the window for payment. When you knock on the door, what are you told?
Funny enough, 2013, 2017, I don't think a lot of county guys understood the powers they had. So the payments were easy. You would get your payments done. and I say that with a lot of confidence, because I personally have done counties. I think it's only one county that refused to pay. I went many times and I calculated the fuel amount, and it matched the amount they owed me, and I left it. Counties were paying debts comfortably until they got to a point where they realized, even if I sign 10 LPOs and all the suppliers are owed by the county, I have no personal liability on me as an officer. That means I can commit as many people, and I can even ensure that 5 LPOs are done. Because ask yourself this. You have a pending bill for office stationery that was applied in June last year. You need in November. The best business practice is to sort the previous supplier and get a new one. Now, what do? They get a new supplier. Remember, they normally pre-qualify like 10 suppliers. So you supply this month, you don't pay. You supply next month, you don't pay. So by the end of the year, all of us haven't been paid.
And you all know each other.
Somehow you do. Because yesterday I went to a county to send a demand letter, because we want to take them to court. And I found 3 guys who also brought their own demand letters. And the sad thing was, mine is a debt for 2019 and another one for 2021. And the gentleman was telling me, ilikuwa serikali ya nani. And I'm thinking, I don't tell him that, but hata mimi ni ya nani na sioni tukilipwa. And the sad thing, which we actually need to do, is to delink this financial management from the political cycle. Because we have 3 major problems that we are going to face in the next 5 years. One, we assume that doing business with counties is not a necessity, or even with the national government. But who is the biggest buyer of our country today? The biggest buyer is government.
Yeah.
Mashinani, we can't say we are devolving Mashinani funds, and yet when we devolve money for the people Mashinani to supply county government, we aren't paying them. So it means I want to go back to my home in Migori, supply Migori county government, but there's a chance that 90% won't be
pay
paid.
me.
And the sad reality, if you look at the way the pending bills are increasing, it means that 30% is what we get to pay as counties. 70% is never paid. It is pushed to the next financial year. And do you know what we do to cover it up? We increase the own source revenue so that we can also be given a chance to do more development, which will also end up being another accumulated debt. And the person doing that never gets charged. You go to retirement having served the county distinctively, killing businesses, and I go home to sob every day. And we will meet with you when you're retired, and you'll be telling me, na utalipwa tu. But when you are there, and the sad thing is, no law can take a charge of you, and no one can ever charge you for anything. So what we're asking ourselves right now is, how do we do a law where, should you sign any government document, the first liability should be you? Because we are blaming these governors who came into office. But I ask myself, yes, Sakaja, he comes in and finds 70 billion. He promised his guys some development stuff, which is also into billions. So does he take care of these debts that were left with Sonko and the crew, or does he start his own now line? And that's what they're doing.
You know, in the UK, there's a law that says whether you're a government or you're a business, when you're dealing with an SME, you must pay them within, I think, 60 or 90 days. Otherwise, you're in breach of the law, and it has a jail sentence to it. So that's perhaps something that you should explore, and something that I think would. I'm a businessman myself. I have pending bills in the millions, not from county governments, because I'm too clever to do work with them.
Okay.
And he still has pending bills and he's clever.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I have pending bills from corporates. Right? Now, my question is, we hear stories that for you to be paid your pending bill after you've waited 6 months, 6 years, you still have to give a small cut of it to the person paying you.
Who says it's small?
I
just want to
it's
confirm.
not small. Let me put it like this.
Yes.
You go to a county and you owe 10 million.
Yes.
And your document is there. And the guy can bluntly tell you, unajua 30% inaweza lipwa. You'll find a lot of people saying yes. And you lose 30% of your money to that county guy.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, you can do nothing about that payment, because the payment processes in Kenya are not streamlined. They are still humanized. Meaning, if Ndu is not in today, then the analipanga, forget.
Yes.
Kuja next week and do akiwa kwa office.
Let me ask you, this person who you're going to pay this 30%, is it the person who's a signatory on your paperwork?
In most cases, the signatory and the person paying you may not be the same person. But ikishafika stage ya mwisho, there is someone. Now that someone is the one who will look at them and see nani anaweza toka kitu ilipwe. That's why you find now the wheeler dealers are no longer government suppliers. They are the middlemen to ensure your payment comes out.
Okay, so let me ask you
They're
something.
the brokers.
They're the brokers.
So, this road that I built, I'm waiting now to be paid.
Yes.
It's been 9 months, and they keep telling me we'll pay, or there's no money, we are gathering money, whatever the case may be. But if I now come to you, Simon, I'm sitting at your desk, and I say, you know what? Kwa hii pesa, simtoe tu kakitu. The money will come out.
If the exchequer is there, you'll get paid.
Yes.
I don't know why we hide the fact that we are in a language, we are irredeemably corrupt as a country. And counties are times 10. So you think national is 10%, counties are at 150.
Wow.
That means, let me give you a scenario. I have a county that I've chased, and I sat down with the finance guy. And I knew they had gotten money yesterday. So he told me, you come. Drove all the way to the county. These are the documents. He looked at them. Akaniambia, hii nitalipa ili usipige kelele.
Gani hiyo?
Then I asked him why. And he tells me, this one I'll pay, but don't say we don't pay. I said, it's okay, you pay me. 2 days I got my payment.
if you say what or not say that.
You see, now I'll make noise online. That's the problem with me. Then later on, the same people came and I supplied. Now this time there were many supplies.
Yes.
Then elections came. Of course, normally what happens, and I don't know why it's an African problem, when a new office comes in, the first thing they do is reorganize the finance office. So even a working office is no longer working.
Yes.
So you find you have these bills and you can do nothing about
It is not working for the person who has come in.
Yes.
Yes.
He has an idea of how he wants it to work.
No,
and it's because
it's not an idea of how he wants it to work. It's an idea of how he wants it to work so he can eat.
Yes.
You know, we need to understand what the objectives here are. Eh?
And actually,
most of the reason these spending bills exist is not for the projects.
yes.
It is for people eating. And when we accept that it is the eating that is poisoning this thing, then we can get some direction.
Do ask yourself. We have two governors. There was a governor from Muranga. Why was he in court? Because he got kickback.
Yes.
That means what? You supply.
Yes.
Then
And for you to
somebody's
get
for
your payment, just give me this percentage, either in terms of an asset or in terms of cash money. Same with the governor from Samburu. It was because, one, you supply, and because what you need to get paid, you give me a kickback. Comes to my company, ESCC follows, or the FRC guys, they follow. Now, the beauty is 90% of these county guys know that's the trend. So they do not care whether you have a valid LPO or a valid document. They keep saying we are going to audit. My question has always been, do you have one case where the county government went to court and proved that CT is claiming 10 million and is applied there? None. Because they know these are young men. I can give you scenarios of young men in Nyeri or in Meru, in Kisii, who supplied small things like even furniture, viti, ama unakuja kuleta tires, then you're told you wait. It gets some point, even when you're buying newspapers today, nowadays we don't buy newspapers to read the front pages. We buy newspapers to see the cheaper houses being auctioned because you need to pay your loan.
So when you deliver or when you supply these tires, are they in a store somewhere or they're being used, for example?
No, they're in a store, they'll be used, and then because we owe you, we will now ask him to deliver Mark. Then Mark will deliver, and because the two of you know we owe you, we go now to the third guy. So that cycle is amazing because you end up being 10 businesses in one industry. All of you are owed by counties, and then normally businesses mnakopeshananga among yourselves. Now all of you are owed by counties. What do you do?
And you
now the worst case scenario is that this curse of doing business machinani makes all of you hate counties because of a few individuals. If that process was streamlined, you would increase businesses, even KRA statutories would be sorted out. Because a lot of businesses are having issues with KRA, not because they don't want to pay, but because you owed by counties 40 million, you owe KRA 4 million. KRA has a monthly deadline. What the counties don't understand is that every time I do a supply and I give you an invoice, 16% of that money is government money. So that means an invoice of 40 million, I have about 5.6 million that I need to give KRA right now, which you delay. So even if I borrow, and that is why we have a lot of credit-owning companies coming up, because you need quick cash. The bank will take time, but he owns a credit company. He will give me within a week, and I'm able to sort KRA. But what have I done? I've walked into a hole. Now, for me to get out of that hole, his interest will eat almost 40% of the profit I made, assuming you pay me within a year. We are assuming.
And you don't do. There's the corruption in county governments is very interesting. So some of these counties that have big cities, certain governors did not take cash. You know these city planning permissions when you want to build an apartment block? Governors will tell you, for you to get this permission, I need 2 apartments. True or false?
True.
There's a rot that is ailing county governments, and I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because at this point we need to start warning young people that the opportunity cost
doing business.
The 30% you must lose, the credit you must be able to handle for 2-3 years, and then the political connections you actually need to have to get paid.
Forget paid, even to get the job in the first place.
Actually, to get paid in counties looks like you're doing drugs.
Yes.
Because you need to know. you supply the county. Then when you walk in, you're being told, Ongea na ule mse. Ongea na ule mse. So by the time you're done, you wonder, am I doing a drug business? Because it's supposed to be my document that
You're a
get me paid. And now you don't get paid. And the sad thing is, we keep telling our young people, I included, be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
This country does not have enough opportunities for all of us to be employed. It has enough opportunities for all of us to do business if we got paid.
Okay. The CECs hold vital roles in the county. One would assume that the CEC position for finance would be vital here when we talk about pending bills. I'm curious as to what they say. And of course, this is coming from the side of the suppliers. But what do they say when we look at this? Because essentially, this is their role.
The final say, to be honest, okay, politically you'll say the CC, the same way you say politically the Minister of Finance in Kenya. But from a practical point of view, the Chief Officer Finance, CFO, and Head of Procurement, and another guy called Head of Budget. Those are the 4 people who can decide who gets paid at any point.
True.
Now we have another problem, which is also
CEC.
Ceremony. If you look at it, he's a political figurehead of that ministry. Call it a ministry in the county. So does he have any AIA authority? No.
So it's the same thing with ministers, actually.
Yes.
Ministers are policy heads.
Yes.
The people who are in charge of fiscal is the PS. So in the same case in the counties, it's the chief officer.
The same way with the county assemblies, you would blame the speaker for not getting paid because you supplied the county assembly. But the final authority is the clerk.
Is the clerk, yes.
So the biggest problem we have is a lack of personal responsibility on these chief officers, the CFOs, and the head of procurement when they commit to pay.
Simon, there's something you said which I don't actually understand, and I want you to expound on it a little bit. Are we saying that if somebody is an office holder in a public institution, they cannot personally be held liable for a decision that they've made?
Okay. This is what I'm saying. Since independent, we've never had any officer held liable for committing government to contracts and government losing money or suppliers not getting paid.
Yes.
That can only happen. Remember, there's a time Mheshimiwa Moses Kuria came up with that. He was trying to talk about personal liability on the persons holding an office.
Yes.
Now, there's a big problem because I may be a very good chief officer of finance and I want to settle pending bills. But who is my governor? So you find some governors are micromanaging this department to the level where the governor is the one who decides who is to be paid what.
True.
Very true indeed. But is that our practice, or does the law categorically state that they are not in a position to be held liable?
Good. If you take someone to court, what crime will they be charged? Because our laws are very clear. It will abuse of office.
Yes, abuse
if
of
it was
office,
an economic crime, like the way he's saying in the UK, then there should be a figure where if Ndu is the chief officer in Nairobi, I supply and Ndu doesn't pay me, then she incurs an exact loss payable to me directly.
All right.
That law is not there in Kenya.
When you are contracted to actually perform duties or to do business, contracted, it means there is a contract.
Yes.
And that contract comes with a promise of payment.
Yes.
So it is as good as a promissory note.
Yes.
Or a promissory, whatever you want to call it. So if you do not pay me, you are in breach of that particular contract. Is that not so?
But in a court of law, what they will do when you sue them, the county will actually appoint a lawyer. So it will be you versus the county. It will not be you versus Ndu. Yet she is the one who signed the document. So as much as you will bring it down to her, they will say the county, she was acting on behalf of the county. So what we are trying to figure out is a law that would actually commit Ndu. That the next time she signs on any paper, that she understands that there is a personal liability and responsibility on that signature.
You know who makes laws in Kenya? I'm just, you know who makes laws in Kenya?
Yes.
Parliament.
Members of parliament.
No, the president. But let's go.
You're such a naughty fellow.
I know what you're saying. But if we were to go by the book,
So it's the MPs.
Again, he'll tell you which book.
which book? Okay.
Yes.
National Assembly.
Yes.
They make laws, and so if we're saying that there needs to be an adage, so in what act this would be if there needed to be an adage to this act, because there is a Public Procurement Act that is alive in this country.
We would put it under the Public PFM Act, the
Under
Public
finance management.
Yes, and you know why? Then we would also embed part of it under EACC, and part of it, yes, the two. You know why? Because abuse of office has always been used to get rid of an office who mismanages finance. But we've never had a scenario where someone is told, for example, the county owes suppliers 10 million because there was bad budgeting. Okay. Before we release you on your retirement, we're going to withhold your pension for 10 million until you figure out what went wrong for them to get their money back.
Okay, now this is the thing here, that if we look at the slew of amendments that have been made to acts, it doesn't matter where. Usually the practice is that if there's an amendment that is being made to a particular law, that there has been the presence of, number one, a violation, or there has been an anomaly that somebody needs to see how we can fix this, that we need to add something here or we need to take something away. Usually there is something negative in nature that has happened, or we've seen that it is insufficient, and so an amendment comes in to either enhance what already exists or to remove something that is causing some harm. Now, park that. In order for that to happen, there needs to be widespread, beyond the suppliers who are suffering this thing, knowledge and understanding of the pain and suffering, the detriment that is being caused as a result of these things not being paid. Follow me so far?
Yes.
Now, what is that? We don't seem to understand. We'll just say, okay, Shebi people have not been paid. Wait for them to be paid. Let's move. Is it not more than just not being paid? What are we talking about?
Also, just to add on that, the numbers are running in my head. Is it even possible for county governments to pay these pending bills?
Okay, I'll start with Ndu's question. Number one, we have a problem by the fact that we don't legislate right. Because in developing countries, the complaints that are there are too many. Right now, you only supply counties, to be honest, because you know someone.
Yep.
You'll get paid. Yes. That complaint is already known by senators. It's already known by our MPs. The fact that that law is not out is for two reasons. One, what is the fallback position when you are a failed MP? You become a CC.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is the fallback position when you are a failed MCA? Become a chief officer. Or when you look at everyone who figures if they ran for a seat, they couldn't get it. Governor appoints you to this position. So for political cover, that personal responsibility is a problem. Look at even the national government, if we are to be honest with ourselves. If you watched the Vampire Diaries when it was being done about stadiums, you can technically tell those are economic crimes that people are supposed to be held liable for signing certificates for people who got paid for stadiums and roads that are non-existent.
Yeah.
But we've never been told that road in Makueni, that there's a contractor Y who's been taken to court, there's an architect Z, and there's an engineer Y from this institution who will all be sued for Kenyan government money. So we always assume that when we lose taxpayers' money, it's okay.
Yes.
What we are forgetting is, I don't blame when President Uhuru said we lose 2 billion a day.
Yeah.
If you calculate in a year, that's 700 billion. That's 30% what the Auditor General keeps saying, we lose 30% of our money through corruption. Yeah. But what exactly is corruption? It is me not paying you for current products, for previous products, paying current, overcharging. And because we have realized counties are not paying, I won't supply that at 5,000.
No.
I'll supply it at 8. The question was on will we ever pay counties?
Now it seems like a colossal.
It's 200 billion. Let's look at maths. How much do counties get from the national government? Let's say 500 billion. Or 500 trillion.
Yeah.
That's 500.
Collective.
Yes. The counties owe 200 billion.
Yes.
Ideally, counties like Moranga have tried. They have halved the pending bills. Yes. But because you're an intentional governor.
Yeah.
These others, to be honest, 2026 is coming in. So the governor's last time for him to work ethically is this year. 2025, 2026.
Yes.
The next budget he's doing next year
is for himself.
Is to accumulate the next pending bills.
Yes.
Whoa.
Because one, he won't pay. You know why? You're a second-time governor. You're leaving.
Yes.
You most likely want to become a senator. You don't care whether a supply gets paid or not.
Yes.
Most of the chief officers who work for second-time governor are also looking for political seats. So his pending bill, one of their problems. So next year, we are going to have a shoot again of the pending bill. And because we have no personal liability on all these people, we are killing businesses every day. We are killing enterprises. Even big institutions are suffering.
Yes.
The day before yesterday, Sunday, I was somewhere in Naivasha, and I met a lady who is owed by a county, and she told me, if 14 million, ataka unajua governor anaweza taka tu anipe to 8. Because my cost was 6 million. So if the governor gives me 8, it's okay, he can keep the 6. Because you've had this debt for 3 years, and now you're figuring out, yes. And the sad thing, the social fabric we keep pushing is that city can work for county. So you go back to, let's say, let's assume you come from Kisii. So you can do a very good...
There are 47 counties, Bona.
Why chose Kisii?
Okay, so
Trans Nzoia.
No, Kisii is good. Kisii is good.
No, Trans Nzoia is doing way better in paying bills. So you go to Kisii, you are very good in stationery, you're very good in branding.
Yes.
So the county subcontracts you. So you tell your wife, instead of working in Nairobi for this amount, let's go back there.
Yeah.
Our business is doing good. So because the governor is his friend, he went and got pre-qualified. And he knows business will work. 2026, they're doing good. So lifestyle, up.
Yeah.
2027, that governor is off.
Yeah.
So a new governor comes in, does pre-qualification, you're not. Remember, you finished your businesses in Nairobi. You depended on counties, so you're doing good. Financially, you're doing good. Now, 2026, you supplied, because when the governor was coming back to office, he would pay you.
Yeah.
Remember, you even gave him good prices for his own machinery. Now you don't get your money back. So what happens? You're in Kisii with a dead business, with pending bills, and a social life that has to go back to zero. So technically what you've done is that in a year, city might even be in depression, if not dead.
If not suicidal.
So, you know what? Highlighting these issues is very important, and it's just sad. The emotional has to come into play here, even when we're talking about business.
Yes.
But it's necessary for us to keep highlighting these issues. Let's do this in a couple of months and see if these numbers have changed. And they could have
or downwards?
Changed. I just said changed.
Okay.
Simon Gichuki is the Secretary General of the General Association of Public Sector General Suppliers. Thank you for being here this morning. It's a big issue, but we're very grateful that you did.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.